understand. And what does that mean when they don't understand? Are we talking about family dynamics? Are we talking about our biological families, family of origin? Are we talking about our in-laws? Are we talking about people in the community? Are we talking about people here? Well, when you think about the concept of family, everybody's related to somebody. So when I'm talking about family, in this particular context, I'm talking about everyone. So the way life kind of works, we tend to think, parents are our family, the allergic people are our family. You look and there's a whole breakdown of all these things that could be considered in the wonderful family dynamic. It's beautiful, it's a tree, and everyone grows together with the tree. We have the roots, we have the anchor, we have everyone. It's so wonderful. Isn't it lovely to look at a tree and then reality sets in and things begin to change? So when I talk about family today, these are the people that I'm talking about. I'm talking about everyone that is included in our entire family dynamic, because whether they're related to you or not, somehow everyone in your circle, everyone in your support group, at your job, at your healthcare program, everyone somehow affects you, and somehow you affect them. So now that I've clarified that, this is how it's supposed to be. We think, oh, there's an intact family. Everybody's there, mom, dad, kids, 2.5, you got a white picket fence, you got a dog named Bo, you got all this wonderful stuff, and that's how life is really supposed to be. It's so grand, right? And then you kind of move on, you think it's really special when our kids have this great health. Their worst issues, they got a scraped knee and they just fell down and maybe they hurt themselves. We're going through in life is nothing but just a bucket of roses. It's all peachy keen. This is what life's supposed to be about. We're accepted everywhere. We're just kind of like a credit card. We're accepted in all places, right? No one has any problems with us because life is magnificent. This is the way it's supposed to be. Isn't it grand? Even life in general. We're all lovey-dovey. We love our in-laws, and our in-laws love us. The entire family loves us. We love those cousins. We love those little bad kids that come over on Thanksgiving. You know the ones that try to beat your kid up when you're not looking. Those kids. We love them too. It's all lovey-dovey. Everything is just absolutely great. It's like this big kumbaya thing every time we get together with our family members. It's just absolutely marvelous. If you watch TV, you'll see that what I put on the screen is exactly how we're all living, am I right? Of course it is, because all the commercials will tell you how great it is. All the TV shows will tell you how magnificent everything is. And we want so desperately to believe that this is true. And we watch over and over and over and fantasize about the holiday turkey that comes out perfect because we brined it the way it was supposed to be. And it doesn't taste like cardboard. We didn't burn the ham. We didn't burn the biscuits. Somebody didn't forget to bring some food for our allergic family member. That would never happen in our perfect family scenario, now would it? Of course it wouldn't happen in our scenario. And then, after we finish roasting our chestnuts on that open fire, we start thinking about the medical community. All doctors are created the same. They all give us the same information. I don't even know why there's more than one doctor, because it's all a repeat of everything. Every doctor will give you the information and the education you need to do everything that you need to do in order to have this magnificent, wonderful life in these 4 steps. And you too can have this 4-step life if you don't worry about the realities of how we really live. See this perfect life? Everyone's grand. We've got Bobby here. He's at the computer. Hey parents, it's all good in the hood. And then we've got this loving couple and they're smooching. They've never had an argument ever in any of their relationships. It's wonderful. These two here, she's looking at him so adoringly as he scratches his head. Everything is wonderful there. They're out to dinner on their regularly scheduled date night. And then, look at that kumbaya moment with Grandmama and everyone's sitting there. They're all watching TV. Oh, is there a fireplace? I think they forgot to turn it on, but that's okay because they're all together. look, there's the baby coming into the world with the little tiny feet, just as perfect as can be. There's nothing wrong. Dad's having a great moment with his kid. It's amazing how our lives really are every single day. And all of you look just like all of them on this screen. When you leave here and you get with your families and you go to those schools and you deal with those doctors, all of you will be able to reflect upon this right here, because this is the way life is supposed to be. Look at her. She's so happy up there up top. She's just dancing along, and I know you all do that every day when you get up. That's the way that it is. I'm so happy I don't have a care in the world. But then suddenly, there's a diagnosis. You get the diagnosis, and in your mind, you're either really smart and you can work it out, and it's all going to be perfectly fine because I'm smart. I've got 6 PhDs, 5 master's degrees, and I'm working on my 7th. So this is nothing for me. I can go to the store and I can make this work even if my child has 35 allergies because they have more than 35 foods in the grocery store. It's going to work. Or you're the other person that begins to realize that this now might be a life-changing diagnosis for your child, for yourself, and for your entire family. And when the reality sets in, it's like a deafening silence. Because no one understands the feelings that you have, and you may not understand the feelings that they have. Because your perfect life, with your 2.5 children, and your picket fence, and your 3-car garage with your dog named Bo, has now been turned upside down. So you start running into all those people and you're telling them about your situation and how things have had to change. And we're going to have our holidays the same way as we always did. However, we need you to tweak some things for us. We need you to do things just a little bit differently than before. I might need you to have no nuts. I might need you to have something dairy-free. And oh, by the way, when you make that hummus, don't use that tahini because there's something there. I'm Italian. Let's not have any ricotta cheese or lasagna because I might have an allergic reaction. Or perhaps I'm Indian and we use fenugreek, but guess what? My kid can't have it, so I don't want them to be exposed at this particular event. Suddenly your perfect family begins to change into something else. They transform. Some of them will work with you for a little while. If you're really lucky, you'll get some great ones that actually support you. But then you start running into people who have this attitude, get out of here with that allergy BS. They don't believe you. You're a helicopter parent. You're a helicopter person. You're lying. You had hives last week. Now you're saying it's your stomach. That can't be a reaction. It's different than it was before. I think that you're scamming me. You need to stop lying. Oh gosh, you're such an attention seeker. It's not really that bad. Oh God, here comes the drama queen with her drama kids, bringing them over to create drama at our kumbaya moment. I was about to light the fireplace, but here they come with their foolishness. And now I have to deal with them. Or maybe they're the know-it-alls. There's a cure, and we know it because guess what? We saw it on TMZ. And they said, if you do this, then there's going to be a cure for that thing. So you still need to get out of here with that allergy BS that you continue to bring to me with this particular situation. Or there's the other ones, just avoid it. It's going to be okay. It's all right. So what if the peanut butter cookie is next to the chocolate chip cookie and somebody made a cookie with anchovies in it? I have your sugar cookie over here on the side. Oh wait, did I not clean the pan? It's okay. Just eat it anyway. So you start having some of those people as well. But then things begin to shift sometimes and they begin to change. And you are uninvited. They might forget to tell you about something, or tell you so late that you can't get there. Or even if you get there, you feel uninvited. You feel that somehow now the issue that you're dealing with has become a burden because people have made you feel that your problem is now their burden and they don't want to deal with it. Then you get the goodbye, Felicia attitude from some people. And I bet you're wondering about that last one. I've got teenagers who do social media. So when people do things, they go, weird flex, okay. And what does that mean? She's weird, get up out my face with that. That's exactly what that means. Weird flex, but okay. You're weird, but okay. You're strange, but okay. I don't believe you, but okay. These are some of the attitudes that we will get from people when we have to deal with this and we get the diagnosis. And to go back, just a few minutes ago, we had our perfect life. And now all of a sudden you're a liar. Now all of a sudden you're making things up. Now all of a sudden you're exaggerating things. Or we can't accommodate all of that. We've got 3,000 children at the school, so there's no way that we can accommodate you. In fact, you need to accommodate us. You need to just change that allergy stuff. We didn't have that when I grew up. People did have that when people grew up. But what we didn't have was social media. We didn't have access to all the people knowing all of the health conditions that other people had. We didn't have the tracking. We didn't have the data that tells us what things people have had to deal with over the years. But yet, our television, our internet continues to push that perfect life that we have, or that we're supposed to have. So then it begins to get to the point that you start to have a reaction to some of these things that are happening. You can feel alone or fearful or anxious, angry, isolated, confused. Does anybody know what APSS is? I call it APSS, Allergy Parent Stress Syndrome. So I've been writing about that a lot. It's an acronym that I've been using a lot for a lot of things that I've been doing. Because what happens is, even when you think you're on top of things, even when you think everything's okay, even when you think you're in that safe space, you're still concerned. We came to this conference and everyone knows that they put a lot of work in making sure that we're eating things that aren't gonna affect us negatively. But somewhere in the back of your head, there's that little trigger that says, I'm not quite sure. Or, did somebody touch that with the spoon? Or, how do I know for sure that they really did this right in the back? So this allergy parent stress syndrome really turns into allergy people stress syndrome. You may not feel it on the surface, but it's somewhere always in the back of your head running like a process. And it never goes away for us because we have to constantly deal with this. You ruminate over things. How could I have done this differently? Why would this person say this to me? Why would this person treat me that way? Why would this person do this? Don't they understand? Why don't they care? They don't love me. They don't love my kid. This person is cruel. This person is mean. This person, this person, this person, this person. And it creates this continuing cycle, this process that goes over and over and over in our heads. And we think about this on a regular basis, and there is no way that this cannot impact your body. If you think about what we would consider traditional stress, you have distress and you have eustress. Eustress is, we came to this conference, it's a great thing, but it's still a form of stress. Getting here, getting packed, getting the stuff in your bag, hoping it's not overweight on the plane. Because I'm really worried about my bag. And I have a luggage scale if anybody needs one. So, but it's eustress. It's the good stress. It's the one when you're getting married and you cry right before the wedding. And they're all like, what's wrong? It's the happiest day of your life. It's eustress. But then you have, of course, the distress. Both of those things impact your body. They impact the cell membranes in your body. They impact the way that you think. They impact the way that you act. They also impact the way that you react. If you have constantly been subjected to certain behaviors from certain people because we live in this space, in this allergy world, then more times than not, we're ready to be defensive when somebody says something because we're not quite sure what they mean by it when they make a statement or have a comment. So then, the diagnosis is here. And instead of that perfect life slide, we have the real one. She's over here clutching her pearls because she cannot believe that this is what her life is like right now. It just got real. Some of us feel like we're just drowning. We're drowning in the stress. We're drowning in ways to find, and now we've got so many different products that we can pick from. Shoot, we're drowning in products. And that's a good thing, but at the same time, we know all things aren't created equal. So then we have to decide to go through those things. Because I can buy these cookies for my daughter doesn't mean that my son can eat those cookies. And maybe I can't eat those cookies. So then you feel like somebody who's got the whole world on your back. Because you're carrying the day-to-day that everybody has in their lives in addition to this. And it can be a bit much. She's over here in the corner just banging her head because she doesn't want to know if this is what stress actually looks like. And then you've got this over here. I don't know what she's doing with the books. I just thought it was a really good graphic. I thought y'all would like that. And actually in the middle, that's my real son. That's my oldest son. And then of course there's the idea about money. Lots of products, but they're expensive. It costs money to make good products that we know for sure are safe for us. It costs a lot of money. Healthcare costs a lot of money. If you look at the cost of an allergic reaction at the emergency room versus the cost of something else, you're gonna see double and triple numbers. I paid $800 for an ambulance ride for my daughter to go to the hospital. They didn't even do anything. I already gave her the EpiPen. They didn't do a thing. Oh, well, we checked her vitals. Well, you could have just gave me the thing and I could have pumped her arm and checked the vitals for free. At least, I could have just paid myself $800 for all of that. Well, we charge by the mile. Well, it was only 15 miles down the street. So then the money becomes impacted. And there are all these different things that happen in this family dynamic that we're dealing with. But we're the ones that have to deal with it. We're the ones that have to manage it. We're the ones that have to live it and make people understand what we're dealing with in our lives because they have the perfect life on TV and suddenly now we don't. Because it just got real. Her smile's fake. I'm convinced that this lady's smile is fake, right? But how many of us walk around with this same fake smile? When somebody asks you, hey, how are you? And you say, okay. There are studies that tell people that the majority of people that say they're okay, they're not. So why are we lying? Who do we think we're fooling? And what's the point? What are we trying to prove by telling people everything's okay? You don't want to be negative Nelly? Well, somebody's going to be negative Nelly. And if anybody's named Nelly, I'm sorry. But you don't want to be Miss Negativity or Mr. Negativity and all of it. It's not about being negative, it's about the reality. So again, there are all these things that can be impacted by us having this diagnosis and living with this. There's so much more information now than there ever was before. And that's the great thing about it, because we didn't have all this information before. But at the same time, too much of anything is a problem. There are a lot of studies out there that look very reliable, but they're not. And if you know anything about the research process, every time they do a study, there's a whole process you have to go through and it has to be able to be falsifiable. We have to be able to question the hypothesis when they're doing this particular study for whatever it is. They have to be able to repeat this study over and over. We got 60,000 people in this study and it came out this way. Well, how many people are in the world? I'm not saying that studies are bad. Studies are great things. When we can continue to replicate them and they help us from a knowledge perspective to be able to grow and to know more. But we're so overwhelmed and so inundated with additional information all the time, it gets to be too much. So, in this whole perfect family, people have things like stress, as I mentioned, anxiety issues, marital problems, financial issues, angry kids and angry parents. And then when these things start to happen and it starts to really impact, then you can begin to have estranged families. You can have people in your family that you don't deal with anymore. Or when you do, you put your little fake smile on like this lady right here. Their smile's fake, your smile's fake, the relationship is fake, the terms of the relationship are fake. So it's one whole big fake fest that people are having. And then you begin to have these power struggles. Power struggles with your children, power struggles with your kids. And if you end up in a relationship where your marriage works, you may have power struggle with your husband. But in many cases, I've seen where there were power struggles enough that the relationships didn't work. And that sends us over to a whole different type of conversation when couples are no longer together and they have to manage the life of an allergic child. That creates a difficulty that people don't anticipate in their perfect little life. Well, he should love the kid as much as I do. She should love the kid as much as I do. But you don't share the same brain, so of course, people think that their way is the right way. Or they don't want to deal with certain things, so sometimes they're in denial about it. If they couldn't deal with their relationship, what makes you think they can deal with an allergic situation? Are you really for real about that? So that happens. And then when you begin to have power struggles, you have risky behaviors. You have a power struggle with your teenage kid over, I don't know, partying. I'm strong, I know, my friends, I don't do drugs, I don't do this, I don't do that. But they've got to assert themselves, and they've got to make sure that everybody knows that I am mature enough to go to this party. I'm mature, so you begin to have this power struggle. And what happens? Suddenly risky behaviors begin to happen. And then guess what happens? Your kid finds out you were right all along, but still there's an impact because of the risky behavior. The same thing happens in families. We know about the Silvera family and Elijah. That school thought they knew something. Risky behaviors ensued. Sweet baby's not here anymore. People tend to think that they have the power, the knowledge to know more than other people. I don't know all the dynamics behind that situation, but we get these power struggles all the time. When you have situations where you have grandparents that know everything, you have aunties and uncles that know everything. I've had people tell me stories about them sending their kid to somebody's house, and the grandmother, the auntie, or whomever snuck them something that they told them not to give them to eat. Reactions have happened. Or maybe it wasn't that bad of a reaction, and it threw it in somebody's face. Well, I gave them a cookie, and the only thing that happened was they were itching, so you're wrong. How dare you? How dare you? But it's all about a power struggle, because everybody wants to feel valid in this life. And somehow, I'm smart, I know things, and maybe you're just a little bit too emotional. So perhaps that's the reason why we have a power struggle. Going back to custody battles and alienation. So it took me a very long time to be able to get to a point that I could actually have this conversation openly with people. Some people know my story, some people don't. The state that I came from originally, I had a custody battle with my children's father, because he continued to give my daughter food that she was allergic to because I couldn't tell him what to do. My daughter got to a point that she told her therapist she thought her father was going to kill her. You want to talk about a power struggle? I wanted to have a punching struggle. That's really what I wanted to have. But you know, you can't do that. So one thing led to another. We end up in court with a very long, drawn-out custody battle. The only problem with custody battles is that we get tied up emotionally. Our fears begin to take over. Because you're thinking, if they're good with this person who does this, you're up against the clock, and it's a matter of time they're going to do something wrong, and their kid's not going to be with you. You don't know if they're going to get their medicine, and you don't know if this person's going to take it seriously, and you don't know what you're going to do. After many days of crying, stomping my feet, I had to figure out how I was going to deal with it. Because you see, if I got emotional, then at that point, I'd be accused of parental alienation. I would be out of control. I would be the one that wasn't quite stable. The one that was making the situation living the perfect life, but I was living the real life. The one with the little girl who I had been entrusted to take care of, but I could not. This is the same fear that we have when we send our children off to school to have caregivers take care of them, and we're telling them something, and we're trying to trust these people, but you're not quite sure. Or that in-law that thinks they know everything because it wasn't like that when they were a kid. Or that sweet church lady that just had that Reese's peanut butter cup and kissed your baby on the cheek. The same power struggles that we go through with physicians. There are some great doctors out there, but unfortunately, like anybody else, they're just human. And there are some people who are just stuck in their ways. They're a stick in the mud. And they want to do things the way they thought because it worked 25 years ago. So why are you coming to me with some newfangled foolishness because a new study came out? 25 years ago it worked and nobody died, so why would you come to my office? I'm the doctor, not you. Or they don't give you enough education about this topic because they don't necessarily feel they have to. You need to ask them. I don't have to volunteer it. You need to ask me. So power struggles ensue everywhere that you go. I had a power struggle last time I came here with TSA. I was thinking I was going to get arrested, but you know, I kind of stood down a little bit because I had bought this hair product and it was really expensive, and they made me throw it away. And I'm pleading with them, but no, I need it. And they're like, no, you have to put it back. No, I need it, but no, you got to put it back. No, I need it. And then the man had this look on his face, and I started getting a little nervous that they were going to take me in the back. So I changed my mind, and I realized that was a power struggle, and I wasn't going to win. But they're everywhere that we go. And we have to deal with that and still continue to deal with daily life. So, now what? What do we do? How do we deal with it? How do we deal with issues with our family? And again, I'm not talking about just your family of origin. I'm talking about everyone that you connect with on a day-to-day basis is somehow has a familiar relationship with you. How do you deal with it? The first thing, we gotta breathe. You gotta step back because we're thinking about life and death here. And it makes us nervous. And we get very concerned about issues of life and death, as most people would do. But if your emotions overtake you, you will cause more harm than good. But that's easy for you to say because blah, 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 blah. I've been in every situation. My daughter's been epic 8 times. And we all know, every time you get it, you hope it works. So we've all been in that situation. But if I freak out, the situation is going to go in a bad way. And I cannot. And it's the same thing when you're dealing with people who don't understand, whether they choose not to understand or they're just confrontational people. You know, there are people out here that will argue with you, not because they want to win an argument, but simply because they actually like the thrill of arguing. It's like a high. It literally is like an addiction to some people. You can be addicted to anything. We know. We can be addicted to shoes, right, ladies? You know, in relationships, you can be addicted to some other stuff. But you can be addicted to the high of that confrontation. And some people simply are just that. They're addicted to it. So you have to then not give your power to that person. If you get yourself just as worked up and just as upset as the person who is 150% wrong, you will lose your power. Your emotions are power. That is your currency. If you think about it from the perspective of currency, are you going to just throw your money in the toilet? Because if y'all are in the business of throwing money away, I'm going to ask you to throw it up here on this table so I can collect it before I leave. So your power is your currency. But your power in this situation is your ability to manage and maintain yourself in a situation that, yes, could be life and death, because the power struggle is going to get you distracted. It's going to get you detracted. You're going to just make choices that are not going to help your situation. And that person can then, well, see, I told you they were crazy. Because they're button pushers. There's lots of button pushers out here. Well, why should they be that way? Well, they should, and blah, 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 blah. I don't care what they should do. I should lose 20 pounds, but guess what? I like that food we ate today, so it's what it is. You know, people have a lot of what people should do, what they could do, how they should behave. We all have habits that we know we should do better. Some people shouldn't drink as much soda. Some people shouldn't smoke cigarettes. Some people shouldn't shop. There's a whole lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas. A shoulda, woulda, coulda is not going to change your situation. But reality is. And when you allow these people in these situations to get you so worked up and to get you so angry, they own you. They control you. They control your thoughts, they control your behaviors, and they control the outcome of the situation. Even if you walk away, even if you leave, even if you don't deal with them anymore, in their mind, they pissed you off so much, upset you so much, bothered you so much, that they own you. And then you will go home and ruminate about that and think of all the things that you should have and could have said. And do like I do when you're in the shower and repeat the conversation out loud and hope nobody thinks that you're crazy. So, after you breathe, assess the situation for what it is. What is it really that's bothering you? What is it really that's happening? How much control do these people have over your situation? Is it control they have, or is it control you're giving them? Big difference. You have the unique opportunity in this life to set limits and to set boundaries. But we get into this guilt thing, well, I don't want to look like the jerk or the B word or whatever the things are. Newsflash. Years ago, I had this strange concept that if I acted, I was young, really young. If I acted a certain way and did things, people wouldn't talk about me. So I would do lots of things so people wouldn't talk about me. And then one day I heard some girl talking about me. And my feelings were hurt. And I'm like, oh my God, well I did this and I did that and I was nice and I was, and then it dawned on me, when people say people are gonna talk about you anyway, we don't own that statement. We just say that foolishness because it's fluff. But we need to own that statement. They're gonna talk about you. I talked about some of y'all today. Now it wasn't bad stuff, but I did talk about some of y'all. And I bet you some of y'all talked about me, and when you go home, you're gonna talk about me too. And you might be talking about me now, texting somebody. Hopefully it's a good talking about me, but guess what? You're going to talk about people. Every one of us talks about people. There isn't a person that you know that you haven't talked about, whether it's a positive statement or a negative statement. And the same holds true for you. Everybody that interacts with you talks about you. So who cares if these people who don't understand this situation and who don't want to give you solutions or have solutions for you, who cares if they're talking about you? Why are you owning their crap? You got enough crap of your own. And let me tell you, there's a comparison I do with my clients. This is your crap. This is my crap. Right? You keep taking your crap, piling it on to my crap over and over and over. I keep owning it, your emotions, your foolishness, your insecurities, your jealousies, your problems, your financial issues. What eventually is going to happen to my crap? My hand's going to go like this to try to hold it, and all my crap's going to fall through the cracks, and I'm going to be stuck with yours. So if y'all want to walk around holding somebody's crap all day, then keep doing it. The next time somebody approaches you with a situation like this, where you realize that it is not going to go the way that you need it to go, stop holding their crap, walk away. Because you need to manage your own crap. I need to manage mine. How are you going to manage your crap if it's on the floor? Somebody's going to step on it. And what good is it doing you on the bottom of a shoe? So, assess the situation. Do I need to deal with this? Do I have to have this conversation? Do I need to deal with that person? Is there a work around or a work through? Sometimes it's hard because sometimes it's somebody really close to you. That's a whole different conversation. If it's your husband or your wife, or if it's the caregiver of your child and it's your mama and she's just thinking she knows everything, she's gonna feed your child tuna fish and your child can't have fish. That's a different conversation. But these people that we interact with, if this is about a child, you knew how they were before that child got here, so why are you surprised? Did you expect them to change for you? Did you expect them to be different for you? Why would they step outside of their comfort zone for you? They haven't done it for themselves. Why would they do it for your child? If it's your allergy, these people have been living their lives perfectly fine in their little perfect life, in their little perfect bubble, dancing all around. Why are they going to change it for you? You have to assess the situation and don't own their crap. Evaluate your options. What are your options in this situation? I had people last year and the year before talk about, problems in the holidays. Holidays are always really tough. How many days are there in a year? Anybody?
365.
365, right? How many Christmases do we have every year? How many Thanksgivings do we have every year?
One.
How many Mother's Day, Father's Day, Easter, Hanukkah? How many of these days? We have one of these celebrations, correct? If your relationship with these people is based solely on one holiday, you don't have a relationship with these people. Regardless of whether or not it causes tension because you're not together. Because see, if the relationship is ruined over Hanukkah, over Christmas, over Diwali, over whatever your celebration is, if your whole relationship is ruined over that, you have a bigger problem than the holiday. Your problem is the relationship. Because the relationship is built on terms that they created and not that were mutually exclusive between the two of you. It was not one where there was reciprocity there. So the problem is the relationship, not Christmas and you didn't get your kumbaya out with your chestnuts roasting by the open fire. It's the relationship. We're never all going to see the same thing. We're never all going to be on the same page. Give yourself permission to be different. Give yourself permission to be safe. Give yourself permission to put the needs of your health above other things. I can tell you, last year, I had health issues. I could have died. I did not. And I will tell you, that taught me one lesson. I don't care if you have $5 million. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. Your health is your wealth. That's your real currency. Over your emotions, over their feelings, over how you look. Oh, well, yeah, but then I'm going to look bad. Well, they already talked about you yesterday anyway, so what's the difference? They didn't like your shoes last week. So why are you worried about the fact that they're talking about you now? They'll get over it. Stop owning their feelings, own yours. It's not about being insensitive to people because we don't want to do that. But you don't have to own anyone's negativity. And we continue to own other people's negativity all the time. And what does it do? It creates distress in our bodies. And they go hopping around like that lady on the slide, dancing with the stars, doing whatever she was doing. And then you have to strategize. You have to strategize and act on what it is you're planning to do. Thanksgiving is coming. Some of you will have the same problems this year that you had last year and the year before and the year before. So you're dreading it and you stress yourself out over some doggone foolishness when the whole issue is not about Thanksgiving. It is about the quality and the terms and boundaries within the relationship that you have with these people. If they don't understand the health issue, they have a choice. They can work with you to understand it, or they can see you on Black Friday when y'all stand out there in the cold at 3 o'clock in the morning shopping. Pick one. But you gotta be strong enough to do that. Ask yourself the question, why am I not strong enough to do that? What makes me, it's not about them. Make it about you. What is it about you that allows this to continue to happen? You want them to love your child. How about you love yourself? Love yourself enough to stand strong and to be powerful. And we don't do it with hatred. We don't do it with malice. We don't do it with anger. But we can be firm and have conviction about what we have to say. Create new normals, because what happened when that perfect life shattered, the new normal thing came in, whether you realize it or not. You're still trying to have this normal that you haven't had in the 6 years that your kid has been alive. It's not happening, people. If these people aren't willing to change, if they're not willing to be different, they have just as much right to be the way that they are as you do to be the way that you are. We can't make anybody do a doggone thing. It has nothing to do with love. Well, if they loved somebody, they wouldn't do that. Love is not the same for everyone. If you ask everyone in this room what their definition of love is, you're going to come up with all different types of answers. We all have a different definition. We can't give what we didn't have. We also can't give what was scarred and taken away from us from somebody. You may have jaded people in your life who went through a lot and they're just angry and bitter. Well, you know what? Keep your little bitterness sandwich over there on your bitterness table, and I'm going to sit over here with my joy. And let them do that. It's okay. We worry too much about what people think. They're talking about you right now because you spent all this money to come to this conference. And you knew that you had your electric bill due. You knew that Christmas was coming or whatever holidays that you celebrate. They already talked about you. Get over it. Strategize and act. How can I deal with this situation? What can I do? What new normals can I create? Okay, they're ticked off. All right. We're not spending Thanksgiving and Christmas with them. By January 15th, most people will be over it. For those who aren't, when Mother or Father's Day comes around, they'll be over it because they want a gift. If they're not over it, then you have to ask yourself what value the relationship was adding to your life in the first place. Now this slide right here doesn't have a doggone thing to do with what I'm talking about today. I thought it was really cool because I figured by the time we got to this point it'd be pretty heavy in the room. Because it seems like, oh gosh, this is just hopeless. This is just like, blah, what do I do? So anyway, it does represent light. There is light. You're light. You have light inside of each and every one of you. But you've got to give yourself permission to let your light shine. Think about the colors of light bulbs. Are they all one color? Can you get a red light, a blue light, a green light? But they still illuminate, right? It's the same thing with your relationships and your celebrations. Maybe your relationship with this person will be different than it will be with another. I have a brother who I love dearly, but he is not the person that I call in a crisis. I've heard things from my mom, well, he should have, and he didn't call you, and he didn't. Well, why didn't you? You should tell him about himself. Absolutely not. He's been that way all his life. Why do I expect him to be different? I love him based on the terms of our relationship. Now, if I told him that I was meeting a famous person, he would be like standing right next to me. But I love him for who he is and what he is. My expectations of him being projected onto him is not fair to him, and all it's going to do is hurt me. I'm not hurting me. Much of the hurt that we feel is because we bring that hurt on ourselves. Why do you keep hurting yourselves? Because we give these, because you know why? That commercial tells us about that perfect life. That perfect life will lie to you every single day. It should be this way. It's supposed to be this. You'll go to a psychologist and they'll tell you things are supposed to be, and I get what they're supposed to be, but sometimes we gotta look at what they are. So the light is on, but maybe your light's teal. Your light's still shining. So now, game on. What do we do about it? You now have to build some allergy muscle mass. Jenny and them talking today about your shoulders. You know, you gotta have all this on your shoulders. To carry something or someone on your shoulders, you have to have the ability to do so. Every one of you has a fighter in you. I've seen people get commercials pulled, get people fined, and all kinds of things in this community. So if you can do that, you mean to tell me you can't deal with somebody mad because you didn't bring the turkey and the cornbread on Thanksgiving? No. Redirect. Stop carrying their stuff. Again, their stuff is in this hand, your stuff is in this hand, and they keep piling it, and all your stuff that goes here, and the next person that walks by just walks on your stuff, and you have nothing left except you're hurt and you feel broken. Allow yourself to grieve the loss of what you thought the relationship was supposed to be. It's okay. Because that's what it is. You do grieve the loss of that. But then celebrate what the relationship can be based on the terms of what it actually is. There are certain people I would never have let watch my daughter. Great people, I would have gone out with them, done things, we'd have gone shopping, but those weren't the people that I would have entrusted to read the labels right. Didn't make them bad people. It just meant that that relationship was on the terms of what it was. And that's okay. Are we not allowed to have different relationships with different people? Don't you remember, like, so, you know, like teenage years, and, you know, like yesterday that was for me, teenage years. But, and then high school, you know, college years and all that stuff. You had different friends. You had your drinking buddy friends. You had your friends you cried to. You had your study friends. And you might have had some friends that kept those secrets that you pray to God they'll never tell anyone in life. But you had different friends for different things, for different reasons, because you knew the context in which that relationship would be. But we seem to think with family it's supposed to be different. Well, those people are somebody's friends. They're your family. And those relationships just might happen to be different. And it's okay. And if they get angry with you, the one thing that can't change, they're always going to be your family. So you'll just be an angry cousin. That's the way it goes. But give yourself permission to set the right boundaries, to have the relationships in a way that you are not carrying this burden of stress and this person's walking off scot-free with everything, and then you're just dealing with crap. Create your new normals. You're not married? Okay, go on vacation with the kids. You're by yourself? Take yourself on a vacation. All right, Christmas in Hawaii, Christmas in the tent in the living room because why have your money? Whatever it is, you got to do it. So you have to build that mass. You have to get yourself stronger. And then here's your game plan. Accept the obvious. What kind of relationships do these people have with others? How have they interacted? How have they acted in life, in their jobs, when they go to the store and the person's not checking their groceries in the bag fast enough? Who are these people? Who are these people that are causing you stress and angst and hurting you? Understand them for who they are. Sometimes the reason they act the way they are is because something they've been through. But they've got to manage that. A lot of times you'll find out a lot of things about why people act a certain way. And it usually has something to do with some kind of childhood trauma or something that happened in a relationship or whatever the story is. But it's out of some kind of fear of an emotion. But that's the obvious. Look at the relationship for what it is. This is what the relationship is. Now, how am I going to work with this? I have a piece of clay. It's not big enough to make this pot. So what am I going to do with it? I know that there's been times that you wanted to cook something and you thought you had everything in your house, but you did not, and you started cooking it. Crap, I don't have everything. You worked with what you had to make it work. It might not have turned out to be what you wanted it to be, but you made it work. This is what you have to do. And then take a hard look at yourself. Are you projecting something that's creating the way that this person is acting towards you? Are you not being mindful of your own emotions and your ability to be able to manage those emotions in any setting? Are you saying things to a person you would never want said to you? It's really easy to decide that someone else is not the optimal person in a conversation or relationship. It's not quite as easy to sit back and say that some of it might be us. And even if we do, we might change our behaviors, but we might not say it, because that's part of the power struggle thing, because if I tell them I was this way, they might think they have power over me. And maybe they will, but that's their problem, not yours. Are you being overly anxious? Are you being unreasonable in your requests or your thoughts? Are you not doing the right research to make sure that you know what the real good studies are actually telling us about what's happening? Do you have a lot of things on your plate that are causing you to overreact or underreact? Look at ourselves. Deal with your own bag of emotions, your fears, your anxieties. Some of us in this community have a lot of anxiety. I know I have anxiety because of all the things I've had to deal with my daughter. I've had to learn how to manage that over the years. Kids do as well as you do. If you're a hot mess, your child will be a hot mess too. It's your choice how you deal with it. And stop expecting them to be you. Well, I wouldn't do this, or I wouldn't do that. And especially if it's a parent and they raised you a certain way, but then you got older, now you got this kid or you got this allergy, and they act differently, and you're like, yeah, but they raised me. Okay, but that was 20 years ago, sweetheart, you're older now. Life changes, people change. Needs change, expectations change. We become rigid, where we have to be more flexible. There are certain things where we have to stand firm to protect our health and to be safe, but there are other things where we gotta be like, you know what? I got more stuff to do over here. I can't even focus on that right now. Or actually, I could focus, but I choose not to. I choose not to focus on that. That will cause me distress. And I love me. I love me some me. I look in the mirror and say, girl, I love you. Which I hope all of you are looking in the mirror saying that you love you, because if you don't, that's a whole other conversation. You have to. You have to love yourself enough to say, I'm not doing this. I'm not having these estranged relationships have a negative impact on me. Are they all fixable? In my opinion, yes. Will they all be fixed? Probably not. Because you can't control others' behavior, but you can control yours. And remember that love is infinite. I didn't learn this growing up. And what I mean by that is, you know, you have relationships where, say for instance, there's a custody battle with kids, and they get really ugly. And you got parents fighting over the kids and stuff, and we use whatever's there, right? Health is a tool in a custody battle. School is a tool in a custody battle. Anything's a tool in a custody battle. And what happens when people are tearing at one another, and even in families in general, if I love you, it's gonna take away from the love I have for you. So I'm jealous about the love for you because of you. Did you ever stop to think maybe that's some of the problem with some of these people? You love your children more than you love them, and they're adults, and you're going, that doesn't make a doggone bit of sense because they're adults and that's stupid. I'm supposed to love my child. Somewhere in them, the love bucket wasn't full. Is that your problem? No, that's their problem. If you understand the reason behind the behavior, you can manage how you deal with the behavior. I'll say it again. If you understand the reason behind the behavior, it helps you to manage the behavior. Does not mean that you've accepted it as right. Does not mean that you think it's fine that they can walk all over you and trash you. Ask yourself, what is the reason behind the behavior? Did this person grow up in a broken home and family means so much to them, even though they're not flexible enough to bend for your family and your needs? Maybe that's why. And funny thing about that, it's common denominator, because your family is important to you. But somehow the way they think about it is skewed. When you understand the reason behind, you can manage it better. easier to swallow it that way and to move on. Get help where you need to. I'm not pushing for me, for my business. I'm a coach. I do stuff. I talk to people. I work with newly diagnosed, people who've been diagnosed for a long time, whatever. Get yourself a coach if you need one to help you manage the process. I know tons of them. Doesn't have to be me, somebody, anybody. Other than that, think about interpersonal communication skills. How do you relate? Do you shut down? Do you get angry? Do you yell? Do you have temper tantrums? How did your family of origin act growing up? How did you communicate? Or did you communicate? Are you trying to have conversations with people who were ineffective in communicating when you were growing up? That's a possibility. And you now want to have a conversation with a person who was never a conversationalist. And you think that makes sense? Nope. The way that you project yourself. I know we can get stressed and we can get anxious because we're afraid. But if you come at somebody from a place of fear, they're going to come at you defensively. It's just going to happen. So you have a choice. Ignore that foolishness and keep on going with your place of fear, or tone it down. If you're not in a position to tone it down because the situation is dire, you have to ignore how they're acting and deal with the issue. Stop owning how they're trying to make you feel. A lot of times people make you feel a certain way, they don't even know they're doing it. It's a behavior that they've had for so long, it's their norm. It's become their norm. There are other professionals that can be involved, mediators. There are professional mediators that will mediate for you, and not just in, business, but in personal family matters as well. Counselors, not always a counselor for the person, because we are quick to say, somebody needs to go to counseling, they need to go get some help for that problem they have. How about you go to counseling to get help to figure out how to manage that problem that they have, because it's eating you alive. Your sole purpose is in this equation is to think about, if it's your child, and think about yourself. You keep stressing yourself out and getting yourself into these situations with these people, you're not going to be any good to anybody, because your power will be gone, your health will be gone, and your child is no good without you. They're no good without you at all. The other thing, going back to the love is infinite. You may really not be able to stand that person because of the way they acted, but your kid loves them. And you're gonna have to figure out how to manage that and allow them to have a relationship that keeps them safe, but also allows them to have love, because everyone deserves to have as much love as they can get. And just because they don't love you, or love you, or me, doesn't mean that they don't have the right to love my kid. No matter how old your child is, you can start teaching self-advocacy for themselves. They can begin to stand up for themselves. A 2-year-old tells you no better than anybody on this earth. They are stronger. They are more knowledgeable. Our kids are amazing. Well, I don't want such and such to happen, and if I'm not there, what do you think is going to happen if they're at school? Well, yeah, but those people are required to. Well, they don't always do that. You've got to give your kid some power, and you oversee it. Start teaching them early. We don't eat such and such without labels. And if your kid's not old enough to read it, and they go somewhere, they got to be fed first, so they don't eat at grandma's house. There are a lot of different ways that you can begin to strategize in order to deal with these situations. But grieve the loss of what you thought it was going to be. That's one of your key steps. Because you keep fighting a battle that you're not winning, and you're stressing your mind and your body out. You're making the relationship worse than what it is. These people love to argue, and they just love to be cantankerous sometimes. Stop trying to fight a battle and take that energy and put it into your kid, into your life, into your business, into your book, into your app, into whatever you're doing. But grieve it first if you need to. Because if you don't grieve it, you will continue to fight it and you will continue to lose. custody battles are tough. Mine was tough. But what I learned about the court system in the state that I was in is that as much as I would like to think that it's all about the child, it really came down to how many points each person had. Because when you read the order, such and such and such was an accusation. The court is in favor of the mother on this. Such and such was an accusation. The court is in favor of the father on this. Eventually, whichever one outweighed the other was what swayed the judgment in the situation. Courts deal with facts, not feelings. My daughter had to sleep on the floor in between two people in a bedroom, two twin beds. Sleep at night, somebody was stepping on her. I thought that was ridiculous. It was injustice. It's disrespectful. The court said, well, they have some place for her to sleep. Did she have any bruises? Did she have any? I couldn't believe it. If you look at case law, if you look at custody battles all over the country, you will read some horror stories. You'll read some great ones too. Best thing is keep it out of court if you can. But if it ends up in court, get your facts right. Get the right attorney if you need an attorney. Not somebody who does general litigation. Somebody who can tell you how you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, and help you tone your emotions down, because your emotions will lose your case. Your school counselors, they're on the side of the kid, so they'll keep it factual. Psychologists, keep it factual. You're invested in this, and you're afraid. It's all about the facts when it comes to that. When it comes to family, it's all about the feelings. Know the difference. Attorneys, like I said, they're not all created equal. Schools are not all created equal. You have some administrators that are just great and they treat your kids like they're their kids. And then you have some schools that treat your kids like they're their kids until you tell them what to do. And suddenly you're at odds with that school. Well, they were really nice, and then all of a sudden your feelings are hurt because that teacher who thought you were so great now doesn't like you. Who cares? She's there to teach your kid and help keep your kid safe. You want somebody to like you like yourself. We have to build that muscle. It's not to say that we have to become insensitive. It's not to say that we want to do things to make people dislike us. But it is about accepting the fact everyone that you encounter is not going to be your friend, even if you're related to them. It means accepting some harsh realities. There are people who have other health issues, and everybody's all good with them until they get sick and then they disappear. Or they don't go to the hospital when people get sick. I can't believe they don't go to the hospital. They're not built like that. Did you see them go to the hospital with anybody else? Why do you think they don't go to the hospital with you? But it's their kid. Yep, I get it. I understand that. Keep moving in a forward direction. Staying safe. Make yourself the best person you can be. Hope for the best with other people, but don't own their stuff. It will kill you, inside and out, and you will resent them. There are people in my life I could never call in a crisis, but I don't resent them. I see them for who they are, and our relationship is what it is, and I value it at that level. But I guarantee you, if I had a crisis, I could call Stephanie Lowe, turn the tail over there. Your family is not always who's related to you by blood. Your family is who is related to you by love, caring, and compassion. Physicians. If it's not working out, get another one. There's a whole bunch of them. What are you so afraid of getting a new doctor? Well, we had that doctor for a while, and he has all the records. Here's this form you can get to take those records and send it to another doctor. It's really that easy. In fact, if you want one, I can email you one, and you can go ahead and do that today. Well, the other one's further away. Okay, how about this? You either go to a doctor who's further away, or you risk your child or your own safety. Evaluate your situation and strategize based on that situation. Do you want to be inconvenienced or do you want to be alive? I'm betting on the breathing thing. We've got to make some hard choices. And we want to be liked, we want to be loved. One of my favorite things is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And in that hierarchy of needs, belonging is there. It's a core thing that we need. But who's to say that you have to belong to something that's unhealthy for you? So, redefine yourself, redefine your situation. See it for what it is. Deal with people for who they are and love them anyway. Let some things go. The things that you need to hold tight to those things. But it's okay, give yourself permission. One world plus millions of personalities equal new normals. You had a new normal when the diagnosis came. So you'll have new normals in your relationships. Some people will support you wholeheartedly, some people will not. Some people want to be educated, some people do not. Everybody doesn't speak the same language. You can't talk to this person about it the same way you can to that person. Sometimes it's our approach. Sometimes it's them. But you won't know until you start to reevaluate yourself. That's it. So if anybody has any questions, feel free. I know it's about dinner time now. You can certainly contact me, email me, follow me on social media, DM me, whatever. The things that I do are far more in depth in helping people to manage tough situations. And I've helped a lot of people manage really tough situations. And you just learn how to do it in your new normal, the best way you can. We are all doing the best we can every single day. Don't beat yourself up. Thank you.